bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. I got the rap patrol on the cat patrol. Foes that want to make sure my casket's closed. Rap critics to say he's money cash holes. I'm from the hood, stupid, what type of facts are those? If you grew up with hoes in your zapper toes, you celebrate the minute you was having dope. I'm like, fuck critics, you can kiss my whole asshole. If you don't like my lyrics, you can press fast forward. Got beef with radio if I don't play they show. They don't play my hits, well I don't give a shit. So, rap mags try and use my black ass so advertisers could give them more cash for ads. Fuckers, I don't know what you take me as or understand the intelligence that Jay-Z has. I'm from rags, the richest niggas, I ain't dumb. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
Hey, it's the latest episode 658 of the Orange Pill Investor, and today I want to talk about the problems that Bitcoin has, and BIP 110 is not one of them. So, back in the day, when all of Bitcoiner sentiments, incentives were aligned, the devs wrote the code. They ran the code on their node. I didn't mean to do Dr. Seuss style, but then the miners, the coders were the miners, and they were rewarded with the sats, and they stacked them. And so if a dev made some kind of, not even a mistake, but if you wrote a line of code and it made it more cumbersome on the node, he bore that cost. He wasn't just doing something and someone else bore the cost, and then he would have to get feedback from another person to say, hey, I noticed something with my node, you know, there's a lot of bloat on my node from whatever you just did. And there was a fairness there, and there was more understanding as well. The original OG cypherpunks or whatever that were involved in the open source project had deep levels of understanding, because not only did they write the code, they saw the results from it. And they paid all of the costs. They paid the energy costs for the mining rigs. They paid this data storage costs for the nodes. And they paid the fees if, in fact, they traded and paid a fee. And now we have specialization, which is completely fine. But now we've got devs. Some of them we have borrowed from the shitcoin space. We've recruited them right out of college. And regardless of whether they believe in Bitcoin, own any Bitcoin, want to get paid in Bitcoin, have run a miner, have any interest really in Bitcoin's long-term success, or come from the shitcoin space and are like, hey, tokens are cool over here on Ethereum, let's put it on Bitcoin. And so now we have 4 different, I would say, main incentive structures within Bitcoin. We've got users, we've got people who just want to stack sats and chill, they want to transact, and they want to pay as low fees as possible. We've got the miners who want to collect as much fees as possible. So those incentives are opposed in some ways. We've got the devs. They are creatives. They're, they're seen as like sciencey math eggheads, but I actually think of them more as creatives. They're more like poets and musicians, and creatives want to create. So they want to write lines of code, and they want the code to do cool things. And I understand that incentive, but that is not necessarily aligned with keeping money as money and not exposing it to new attack surfaces by letting Bitcoin do new cool things and adding new bells and whistles to it. And then we have the nodes. The nodes are the neutral party. And so all this talk about neutrality, if you care about neutrality, then the only thing you care about is the node, because the node is the impartial referee. The only thing that the node cares about is um, how fast is my node going to fill up, right? If my node gets full, then I have to buy a new node. That's an exaggeration. It's not the only thing they care about. They actually set the rules and decide and basically allow the miners to collect the block rewards. So the nodes care about the rules because they are the ones that enforce them, and but they don't really necessarily care about the fees. So they're the neutral referee between the users and the miners. And if I was going to attack Bitcoin, I would attack every single group in a very slow, methodical way that didn't look like an attack. And if you can help it, you would make it sound like it's a good thing for Bitcoin. And so with the coins themselves, they're being centralized by Wall Street, Strategy, BlackRock, ETFs, and I don't have a problem with that alone, right? I was told that if I ran a node and I contributed some hash power, that my vote would be the same as Michael Saylor's. Doesn't matter how many coins he gets. His economic giant stack doesn't mean he controls the network. The decentralized plebs control the network, right? There's 100,000 probably plus nodes. 15,000 of them are whatever, NOTs, BIP 110, some kind of combination of the two. Can't remember exactly what the numbers are. But those are the decentralized plebs that control Bitcoin. So Saylor can stack as many sats as he wants, doesn't bother me. However, previous to the expansion of NOTs and BIP 110, Core controlled like over 90% of the nodes. Well, that's a centralizing effect. That's not good. And the mining pools, everyone joins a mining pool because you can't solo mine and expect to get a reward like 15 years from now. So that's good, but 6 mining pools control 90 something percent of the network. So that's not good. And so we've got centralization of coins, we've got centralization of miners, we've got centralization of nodes, and we've got centralization of development. The people who were running core that have defected and started running alternate implementations like NOTs and BIP 110, that's good news for dev and node centralization. And there are some projects like I think it's Datum and Stratum that might help with the mining centralization. And as far as the coins are concerned, if your Bitcoin, however big or small your stack is, if you are sitting in cold storage, then it doesn't matter what the rest of these fucking people do. So regardless of whether they get 6102'd, right? If Strategy gets 6102'd because their honeypot of 1 million Bitcoin is too juicy for the government, if yours are sitting in your cold storage device, they're not going to knock down 1 million people's doors to confiscate the little people. So that's actually fine with me. It's almost kind of like putting the home defense sign out in front of your house, right? This home's protected by an alarm system. let thieves go and find an easier target. So if they ever do 6102, it's not going to be those of us with our sats in cold storage. But the reason why this is important is because a lot of people discount whether the spam problem is urgent and whether this reduced data temporary soft fork is appropriate for the severity of the situation. And if it was just spam, but we didn't have centralization of coins, and it was just spam, and everyone is building their own templates, and there was a solution to I can't remember exactly what Stratum solves. There's something along the lines of fee estimation or something. Anyway, I could have that wrong. But anyway, I think there's problems with how the mining companies actually allocate the rewards or some shit like that. But anyway, there's people working on that stuff as well. And if we didn't have the mining centralization problem, then maybe the spam problem wouldn't be the end of the world. But we do have, it does seem like they're trying to boil the frogs in every area. So there's a little bit of like specialization is good, like any capitalist society is going to have specialization. But now there's kind of like a divide and conquer within each community that has their own incentives. Hodlonaut's research exposed a lot of the gatekeeping that happened in core. Like everybody says, oh, core is fine, it's decentralized, it's open source, anybody can review the code. Like, okay, well, try to join core. That's always been the thing. Like, oh, you can just join core and start contributing. Okay, well, not if they set up gatekeeping, and not if companies like Brink are funding certain developers that are being recruited specifically for their ideology, and the old school OG devs that don't share that ideology are driven out and not supported. And every time they find a bug, they get hostile reactions, and every time they have a problem or a project, they don't get support. You put those people in silos and drive them out of the community. That is what an empire in decline kind of looks like, right? So Core's had a monopoly on the code since forever. And how's it go? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. So yeah, there are a lot of problems in Bitcoin right now, but BIP 110 is not one of them, in my opinion. It is resisting one of those attempts to co-opt and corrupt Bitcoin. If you trust, I suppose, if you trust that Bitcoin can just magically defend itself without nodes doing the work, and you don't have to do anything, and Bitcoin just wins and the control system has already lost and they're powerless to stop it. If you trust that that is true, then I guess you can ignore all of the attacks within Bitcoin, and it's somebody else's problem, and they'll fix it. I can just stack sats over here, and Bitcoin just wins. I think there's a little bit of a naive tendency for Bitcoiners to feel that way, because once you get orange pilled, you're just like, oh wow, Bitcoin is the best thing that has ever existed, and clearly it has already won, and it's just a matter of time before it just takes over and eats everything, and fiat control system collapses. Now I also am optimistic about that scenario, but I think the naive view is that it happens automatically, like rolling a rock downhill and gravity just carries it from there. I think it's the reverse. I think it's node runners have to pick the fucking rock up and carry it up the hill. So I agree when people say, oh, Bitcoin doesn't need you to save it, or is like some new Bitcoiner's like, hi, I'm new to Bitcoin and I'm here to save it. I agree with those slogans, but at the same time, it's not for just a single person to save Bitcoin. Like enough people have to save it. And I think that's the point of this movement, in that can the intolerant minority do that heavy lifting? Because 90% of Bitcoiners don't give a shit. They just can't be bothered. But there's a statistic from I believe it was the Revolutionary War, that only 3% of the colonists actually picked up arms and fought. And so the idea is that a revolution and a defense can be mounted with a minority, because most people really just don't care and can't be bothered. So I think that's what we're testing, and that's what I'm excited to see the results of. And I'm hopeful that BIP 110 is successful, and that we will have mounted a successful defense against what I see as a coordinated attack against all areas of Bitcoin. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Vibes. Pretty decent movie. All right, so with that being said, let's see if there's any moves that were made today. So I was remiss and was not paying attention to earnings. So I guess Strategy's earnings must be coming up soon, because it's always close to Tesla's, and I missed Tesla's earnings yesterday. Normally, I will take these covered calls off around earnings just in case they get a really good report. I guess I was lucky that I wasn't paying attention, because I kept this covered call on, and so this did very well. I don't know what it was worth yesterday, but I can buy this back for pretty cheap today, so I got to deal with this. Let me reshare without volume. I'm still long. I can't be long 100. Okay, here we go. I'm along 94 delta, really? Oh yeah, because this is so far out of the money. I hedged out my synthetic long, but that's still 3 delta. And oh yeah, I've got a little tiny long position here. I'm sure those are trivial to meaningless. So there's no reason for me to keep this on for 29 days to capture $1.99. That's like 4 weeks. That's $50 a week on a $300 stock. That's like what, 1/6% or something. It's pretty sad. So let's roll this bad boy out. The 43 days are available, but I don't know if the liquidity is going to be worth it. It's not terrible. But holy shit. That can't be right. The expected move is all the way up to 445. Is that right? And the expected move is actually off the damn chart. So I don't really like this expiration. Let's see, the 36. Yeah, the expected move is around 350. That makes more sense to me. I don't know why okay, this has just got to be a miscalculation, or this isn't working. Let me refresh and see if this helps. No. Anyway, yeah, that can't be right. The expected move can't be. It's got to be just inside the 1 standard deviation line. Let's see if I can make this. Yeah, probably around the 355, 360 time or strikes. So if I move this out to, oops. Is that the one that I meant to keep? No. I think I deleted the wrong one. Yeah, so like right around here. If I roll this out, collect about 600 bucks, the extrinsic value would increase to 8. That's still only keeping about $1.25 a week. So that's like 1/3%. I'm not liking that very much. I could go back and turn this into the 3 times a week. I think I was doing this before. If I sell just aggressive at the money covered calls, I can get 1% for tomorrow. Or I could get 2% just till Monday. Not quite 2%. I like that a lot better than going way the hell out. So I think I will. You know, it does suck to be selling at the money covered calls at the bottom here, though. That seems a little bit dangerous to me. I wonder if I should just leave it uncovered. I wonder if this is the bottom or if this is just. Ouch, we've already gone below the low that we had in April. Interesting. All right, I know I'm closing this. There's no reason to keep this on. Then I just have to decide what I'm gonna do. Do I put this on at the expected move, capture very little premium, but at least if this is the bottom and we rally, I don't get whipsawed. All right, let's see what it's going to be. See, the 360 strike is a little over 6. 2 weeks gets me to here. Keeping a little bit over 200 bucks. Yeah, it's 100 bucks a week. Yeah. It's not a lot. I can't stand the idea of just having no covered calls on my shares, though, and just not keeping some premium or not generating some premium. What's my cost basis on this bad boy? So my cost basis is 460. That's wild. Selling the expected move would get me $1.75. It's about 0.5% for one trading day. That's not bad. I don't have to be greedy and just take the 1% for one day. All right, let's give that a shot. All right, SpaceX is dumping. So it's going to be interesting if I have to play the roll till you're right game with the 125 or whether I just let myself get assigned shares. What's the margin efficiency on this? It's actually pretty good, like 10 to 1. This is even if I get assigned, I'm only getting debited 1,700 in option buying power. I have to pay basically the full price on the shares. That's fine. I've kind of got a lot of dry powder here. So if I get assigned here, it's fine. My true cost basis is about 119, so not too bad actually. I much prefer getting assigned here than YOLOing into the 135 at IPO, writing it up to 200 and then not selling, and then oh my god, I can't imagine the people who bought at 135, wrote it up to 2, didn't sell because they didn't want to get hit with the IPO, getting locked out of IPOs for 60 days or whatever the hell the penalty is, and now being down on their position. All right, so I've had these on for 2 weeks and I can keep not quite 50%, 70 cents, what, like 40% in 2 weeks. It's about right, maybe. So Riot is up 4%. Oh, it's actually up pretty well from 18. So maybe I will use this opportunity to trim like 5 of these off of here. Sold them for 170, bought them back for 100. That works for me. So strategy is coming back down from 100. I don't think that's really surprising. It kind of seems like it's finding a range that it wants to trade in. It's looking like it's having a little bit of trouble staying above 100. And we bottomed at 82. So kind of clawing its way back, though. It does seem like higher highs and higher lows. I have 104. Yeah, this could be, I don't know. I don't know if that's a double top or a quadruple top or whatever. Chart people can figure that shit out. So I added a couple of these short positions. My cost basis on these spreads is $1.24. So if I buy them back any cheaper than the $1.24, I'm keeping the difference. So I think I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll trim one of these off. Let's close one. Pay 13. What if this will fill? No, probably have to pay like 15. There we go. And then I will put the rest back on, close them at like net credit of $1. And we'll let those cook. All right, this bad boy expires tomorrow. And precious little extrinsic value in it, 26 bucks. If I prorate that out for a full week, though, I mean, that's basically $100 a week, so 1%. So no reason for me to really peel this off just yet. Early in the morning, it'll probably have no extrinsic value left in it. So I will worry about that tomorrow. Miners are not too bad. I was a little bit nervous about them because they all dumped 10%. But they're recovering somewhat. And this one's been on for 2 weeks. Really not much cheaper than when I sold it. But plenty of extrinsic. I'll let it cook. CLSK, I could keep a third of the profit in 3 days. Maybe that does make sense. It's up another 3%. Yeah, maybe I'll just dump it. Okay, so I sold these for $1.70. Half price would be 85. So these are definitely primed to come off. Close those. Cypher's up $6 or 6%, excuse me. What about the other position? Oh, this one too. So, why do I have so much theta in this account? Is it the Tesla position? Probably. 300. Um, hmm. Yeah. Most of the theta I'm collecting is literally from my my one DTE Tesla option. That's cool. All right, so let me just take all of these off. And maybe I'll put one back on. Just so I can keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll put one CLSK back on too. See if the liquidity here is complete ass. Let me sell one of the 20s. Terrible liquidity on the 43s, 43 DTEs. Let's go to the 13. Liquidity here sucks too. Why is the bid ask spread on the 1250 better than the 13? That doesn't make any sense. But whatever. All right, we'll sell the 12 and a half. All right. That way, this is, fresh on my mind or whatever. I have to look at it every day. All right. Earnings for block August 5th. I should probably try to keep an eye on that. What's the price? 76. So it's creeping down towards the inside strike of my put credit spread of the side of the Iron Condor. Not like terribly alarming, but it's not good. What's up, Rockstar? Let's see. Hey, Nee, just curious, will you buy back Strategy or Strive once this BIP stuff ends, whether it is in your favor or not? Yeah, so I've kind of already decided I'm going to declare amnesty. I know there's a lot of bad blood, and people are like, no, fuck you. You're trying to attack Bitcoin. Um, you're my enemy, and you're dead to me, or whatever. But I try to take a Boothian view of this. He's like so zen about the whole damn thing. Like, I think he gives people a lot of grace for being on different parts of their Bitcoin experience. And what's that meme where it's like different stages of awakening? Like, I'm not at the bottom, like super fully fucking uh Super Saiyan and shit. I'm like Super Saiyan Bitcoiner. And so I'm sure there's some people that see Bitcoin in a way that when they talk to me, they're just like, it's like talking to a child, and trying to explain things to them. But I think as far as the plebs go, I think most of us are probably, this is like a choose your champion adventure, right? Because if your favorite Bitcoiner came out on one side or the other, you're probably figuring out a way to decide the same thing that they're deciding. And initially, I tried to listen to both sides and not come to a conclusion one way or another. But I'm sure my biases kicked in, and so it didn't really take long before a lot of the Bitcoiners that I respected and some that I learned about and really started to respect for the first time because I became aware of them, were all in favor of BIP 110. And some of my old heroes really started to slay themselves and kind of, it's like when the student becomes the master and you're kind of like, well, wait a minute. Like Michael Saylor was a critical part of me stopping my shitcoinery, right? I used to trade every shitcoin known to man. And after I saw the full 20 hours of Sailor series, I was like, oh, I sold all my shitcoins. I was like, oh, okay, well, there can only be one money, right? Because salt and shells and silver and gold and just everything that had inferior properties gets disrupted by something with superior qualities. And it's kind of hilarious to me that non-monetary use cases of these other things of these other monies have led to their destruction and interfered with price signals. And it's somehow okay to codify inferior monetary properties into Bitcoin and think that there won't be any negative unintended consequences from that. And I got way off on a tangent and probably back up on my soapbox. But the long answer is I'm going to hold a grudge more against the big name people that should know better and the ones that I kind of feel betrayed by a little bit more, right? So it's going to be harder for me to buy back into strategy than it would be for Strive. I was plenty pissed when Matt Cole said we stand with Sailor on this. And then I, crashed out and rage quit the very next day and sold all my ASST positions. But like I know those guys and I've had private conversations with them and I know that they have Bitcoiner DNA to us, you know what I mean? Like I don't know Matt Cole very well. Um, and of course, every publicly traded company has the risk of getting co-opted and corrupted by the control system, right? I don't really know, Vivek is a politician, so I don't really know how Bitcoin aligned their company is, but I'm biased because I know those guys, so I would be more willing to YOLO back into Strive in particular, and I think that is the pertinent question and the challenge that I have for Strive and for strategy and for every Bitcoin treasury company is every publicly traded Bitcoin company is that can you remain sovereign? Can you remain unsubordinated to the credit markets, to the control structure, right? If the credit markets are how you buy Bitcoin, it just seems logical that that would be an attack surface to subordinate you. So that's something that I'll be watching for. I'm actually dying. I'm dying to jump back into my Strive position. I'll keep this 100 shares of strategy probably forever because SEC rules for being able to submit a shareholder proposal, you have to be invested in the company a certain amount. And so if the company, I meant to submit a shareholder proposal around BIP 110 this year, but I missed the cutoff. It's not like easy to do. It's not like you just click a button and you're like, here's a proposal. Like you have to submit it in a specific way that doesn't let the company weasel out of ignoring it. So I didn't want to waste, because I think if you submit one and it's rejected, like, I don't know, I think you have to wait. I can't remember if you have to wait like years to be able to submit it again or submit something again. So, you don't want to waste it, and then they can just reject even addressing the proposal. Like you want to make sure that they don't have a reason to reject it. But anyway, I want to maintain that tool in my toolbox. That kind of violates Jeff Booth's belief of you can't fix the system within the system. Like, this is me attempting to change it from the inside, or I don't know. I kind of almost feel like this is using a weapon. I'm using the control system's weapon against them to a certain extent. Like, some of their rules do afford shareholders protections, and like, the government builds roads, and I don't just drive on the shoulder to prove a point that I'm not going to use the roads that they built with my stolen tax money. Um, so to the extent that they're offering me this tool or this weapon to coerce or get the company to do certain things, or at least to address certain things, is a tool that I want to keep in my toolbox, at least for now. But yeah, so as soon as the spam war is concluded, my intention is to jump back into Strive. I actually was not a little bummed out about um, this one as well, though. So let's look at, no, not that one. That's all. Let's look at Cole. Matt Cole. So Hodlonaut's research showed that a lot the gatekeeping associated with getting some of these DEI hires came from grants, I believe, from Brink. And here we go, some kind of stewardship commitment. And yeah, the first move is funding Bitcoin Core development through Brink. I think the guy, I got to double check. I think the guy who was involved in this might have stepped down. So maybe that's good news for Brink. But my spidey senses did start tingling when I saw this. And one of the biggest regrets that I actually have for losing so much money in 2025 is I could have done so much good with that money. Like, I could have funded my own grant, right? From my fucking bags that got packed by Strategy. And I could, I say that they're neutral, but that's bullshit, right? Because the devs that were selecting the recipients of the grants were the ones mentoring them, were the same developers that were mentoring them in Bitcoin Core. So huge conflict of interest with a lot of these grants. And, I could have just peeled off a few sats out of my own stack and funded my own grant, and, just told them to do whatever they want to do, or maybe give them a directive. Hey, I want you to look for ways to reduce spam, or, whatever. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets, is all of the good that I could have done with the money that I pissed away on 1080s in 2025 is one of my biggest regrets for being irresponsibly long. I thought maybe we should change the community name from irresponsibly long to irresponsibly wrong. That shit fucking made me laugh. So to answer your question, I do want to jump back into these companies, but my spidey senses are way more sensitive than they were before. And one of the questions that I'll be doing a lot of soul searching over probably the next 5 years or so, is whether or not Bitcoin treasury companies can remain positive influences for Bitcoin. I feel like the answer is yes, because in hyper Bitcoinization, every company is a Bitcoin company. So it's like, But yeah, I don't know. Maybe not now. Maybe while the control system is so strong, it's not possible. Maybe once Bitcoin is being transacted by 8 billion people, then maybe it's like, all right, well, everybody's a Bitcoiner. And now we don't have, you know, giant bottomless pits of money manipulating people. We'll see. So the answer is yes, I do want to pile back in, but I'm watchful. I mean, but I kind of have to. So I'm questioning whether companies can avoid being subordinated by the market, but I kind of have to admit I subordinated myself to the stock market. Like, this is how I make my money. So I'm trying to take a principled stand by selling my treasury companies ahead of the spam war, but at the same time, I can't just give that up, or I have to go back to work. I would have to. I can't give up trading in the space because this is how I make my money, and I would have to go and start putting in applications. So that's not a good feeling either. Is the realization that I have subordinated my income, my way of life, and if it's a giant rotten pile of string pullers or whatever, and I've I've backed myself into a corner and attached myself to them, then you know, I gotta just pinch my nose and take my medicine and trade my way back to a dollar amount where I can just retire off my Bitcoin stack alone, and and you know, and then I can wag my finger at everyone else who's still trading in stocks, and I can I can shame people for, you know, validating the control structure. Hey, what's up, Justin? I like the signal station in the handle, man. Free advertising. All right, so I made it through the main account. Tesla. All right, the 420 call ain't worth shit, so let's close it. And I'll just do same. What did I sell? I sold the 335. Did the price go down while I was sitting here running my mouth? Good lord. So now the expected move is to the 330, so I'll just sell that one. It's pretty dangerous sacrificing all of my upside, but what are you gonna do? All right, the 125s are $10 in the money. That's just par for the course. Let's see. Shouldn't really be a surprise, though. I mean, people get in at the IPO at 135. They all took their profits, and now some of the institutional folks, I'm sure, got in under 135. So they might still be in profit at 115. If they got in at 100, they can just take their 15% profits, and then retail's too dumb to have taken profits and just hodls this shit. Dumb retail like me. But at least getting in at 125 with a $6 premium, my cost basis is 119. At least it's not jump YOLOing in at 135 and not selling at 200. I can at least pat myself on the back that much. All right, iron, I think, is coming back to life. I sold the 41s. That's like literally at the money. So if we close at 40.90, that's like literally couldn't have chosen a better strike. I must just be that good, apparently, even though I don't look at charts. I just literally decide how much premium I want to collect and couldn't give a shit less what the price does. Um, so that's cool. I'll just probably turn around and sell the 41 and again next week if that's where the price is. The 35 puts are still doing okay. Nothing to write home about there. I got $5,000 in buying power. That's annoying. What's down? So iron is down like 1%. So Tesla's down like a mofo. I could add some credit put spreads. Let's go to the expected move. I'm gonna sell the 285, buy the 275. I don't think I want to do $5,000 worth of them, but maybe just one. So if I use the Kelly criterion formula to evaluate the premium that I'm getting paid on a spread, if it's just a put credit spread or a call credit spread, I assume that this 14 delta is the likelihood, I'm choosing the delta in between my two strikes because it's kind of like an average. Let's see, it has to stay above 280 for me to collect the full amount. So maybe I should be using the 16 delta, but whatever. I'm assuming that this position will fail 14% of the time and will be successful 86% of the time. Meaning, if I collect exactly $140, this is a $10 wide spread, so that means I'm putting up $1,000 at risk. So the 0.14 times $1,000 gets me to 140. If I collected exactly $140 and I'm right 14% of the time and wrong 86% of the time, I should completely break even. All right, if I do this 10 times, well, let's do it 100 times. Calculator. If I do this 100 times, if I get paid 140 bucks, let's see, and I'm wrong okay, okay, so if I'm right, I keep the whole 140 bucks, right? Expires worthless. So $140 is the most that I can make, and I'm going to be right 86 times. So that's 1240. And if I'm wrong, I lose $1,000 minus 140, so 860, and I lose that 14 times. 1240. So I use this like it's not 100% predictive, right? It's not saying if I run a spread and I get paid more, right? $170, getting paid 170 is more than the 140 I need to break even according to Kelly criterion formula. But it's at least mathematically indicating, according to the delta, like this is a decent bet, I suppose, right? If the delta is accurate and this is how many times we win or lose this bet, then getting paid more than $140 is accretive and risking less. And so, if it was like $139, like would I avoid this contract? Like, no, it's kind of like break even, and Tesla's already down 15%. Like, I'm willing to take this on, right? So I like the fact that I'm getting paid a reasonable amount of money compared to the likelihood that I will win or lose this trade. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get a fill. And then, can y'all hear my dog barking? He's locked out. My wife will get him though. All right, so per tasty trade, I will try to close this at 50%. 80, sold it for whatever, $1.60, $1.70. I'll buy it back for 87. Good till close. Review and send. Booyah. If Tesla drops some more, I will consider using, a little bit of this dry powder to, dollar cost average, I guess you could call it, into some more put credit spreads. Let's look at the call credit spread. Like after this crashes, this would actually form an iron condor. But let's say I sold the 355 and bought the 365. This is 24 delta, so I would want to be keeping 240 bucks or getting paid 240 bucks, and this is way less, right? So, according to Kelly Criterion, which isn't the end all be all, but I just like using as a kind of a double check. Like, do I want to do this? Okay, I'm getting paid a reasonable amount compared to the delta risk I'm taking. So in that case, no, not really. In this case, if I run this experiment 100 times and I'm right 76 times and wrong 24 times, I'm going to lose money. All right, so actually, maybe I could do it on SpaceX too, right? SpaceX, it says up 1%, but it's kind of in the toilet, right? Let's just see. I don't know if the liquidity is great on SpaceX yet. And let's do sell the 90, buy the 80. 13 delta, and I'm getting paid 200 bucks. Actually, I kind of like that one. Let's do this. I'm trying to be like super stingy with the damn fill price. The liquidity is not terrible. I don't know why this isn't filling. Now here's the danger, is that the fact that this is such a good price means that the market is nervous. Like the market is basically saying there's a reasonable chance that we could be to $90 a share in 36 days. No reason why we can't be. If it drops 50% from the IPO, that's 750. 6750. Whatever. Could easily dump. Yeah, so iron bottomed out at 32. Yeah, I don't need to jump into any spreads there. Well, is it back up? And it's kind of leveled off. Let me just see what it would look like if I sold. Wait, do I have a call credit spread on here? I do. I put that on yesterday. And it's working out okay. That's fine. I don't need to go too cray-cray with it. All right, Wolf got a little bit of buying power here. I've been really, every time these stocks rally, I'm just closing them and not putting anything else on, and I'm just sitting on cash, which I know is a melting ice cube. but I still feel like this is a fake rally. And as we approach D-Day for the spam war, I just kind of feel like Bitcoin's is really going to do its best to try to scare people and hit 50. That would flush all of the fresh leverage out. Like everybody's like, oh, this is the bottom. It's time to fucking leverage. The bear market's over. It just seems like we're going to flush the fucking shorts out one last time before the conclusion of the spam war. Um, that's all vibes. That's just kind of like me being suspicious. I don't know. Maybe it's an educated guess on the psychology of the market too. Tons of anxiety about which direction the Bitcoin network's going to take. Is there going to be a contentious chain split? Um, will spam win? Will BIP 110 win? I don't know. Maybe, and you know what? Maybe the war's not even over after that. Maybe somebody gets pissed off and decides to hard fork. Um, it would take a while, I think, to put that together. So who fucking knows? All right, with that being said, let's see. Wolf is back up. My 22s are still in the money. That's fine. $65 worth of extrinsic for just over a week. That's 3% for 8 days. I'll take it. No reason to take that off. Could take this one off. I've had it on for 21 days. So this is like ready to roll out as far as time-wise. But again, I've got $100 for 2 weeks. That's $50 a week. That's 2.5% a week. So no reason for me to really take that off. Plenty of extrinsic that I can collect. This one, the $20 puts are barely out of the money. Plenty of extrinsic, $230 a pop for 4 weeks, $40 a week. Yeah, it's plenty. So all the wolf positions look fine. Iron looks fine. It's been on for 2 weeks. It's barely any cheaper than I sold it. Plenty of extrinsic and time left. Cypher. I did close 1 or 2 of these because I got margin. I got hit with margin call here. I really should have just closed this fucking strategy hedge. I would have freed up like $1,000 worth of option buying power, and I was trying to kick the can down the road to pay the taxes on this. So, wait, would I even pay? Yeah, I think I would owe the taxes on that this year. There's like, I don't know, it's kind of trivial, but I'm trying to do better with the tax angle. All right, sold the ciphers for $1.20. I could buy them for 50, which is under half. That's 60 would be half. So these are ready to either roll or close on that basis alone, but it's taken 35 days to get here. So the real question is there enough extrinsic value to leave it on? I basically turned this into a weekly. So 2 contracts, $100 worth of extrinsic, that's $50 a pop. That's over 2%. I'm sorry, that's actually, yeah, it's over 2% for each contract for 1 week. So even though doesn't seem like there's that much left compared to what I sold it for, there's a lot left compared to the time remaining. So no reason for me to take this off. I basically turned a 45 DTE contract into a weekly. And then the Strive is hedged out. Maybe this is the one that I was thinking I should have closed. No, that's not getting me much. It's got to be the strategy one. If I close this position, that would free up $1,000 of option buying power, and I could sell like a CLSK. That would allow me to sell a CLSK cash secured put. Is this technically long or short? So I sold the 850 and bought the 860, which basically means this is a call credit spread. So this is technically a short position. So really, I mean, if strategy does crash one last time, that'll give me a chance to close this out even cheaper. So that'll be perfect timing. If Bitcoin crashes, I can buy this back cheaper. It'll free up $1,000 of buying power, And if all of these other companies are dumping as well, I can just take that $1,000 of buying power and buy in cheaper with the other positions. Yo, what's up, Dana? How's Hawaii? What's up, Buffalo? All right. Iron, $41 call, expires tomorrow. This is like perfect. I threw a dart at the dartboard with my eyes closed and got a bullseye, so that's cool. The $20 cipher put is fine. Cipher is barely over 20, right? No, first cipher is up to 25. So I don't know. The kind of is ready to roll, but 821 is like, is that like right in the middle of mandatory signaling? I think mandatory signaling does it start on the 8th? Samson Mao was it was funny. He was trying to dunk and say like I think we won the block size wars on his birthday on August 8th back in, was that 2017? And he was like, and BIP 110 will be defeated on August 8th of 2026. And so I don't know if August 8th is the predicted date that the block height for mandatory signaling will take place. I think that's about right. The first week in August should be mandatory signaling. And I don't know. I kind of feel like we would know then, because if the miners are going to flip the bit, they wouldn't just let their blocks be thrown and be rejected during the 2 weeks of mandatory signaling, right? Wouldn't they? If they're going to flip the bit on mandatory activation when the user activated soft fork hits, if they're going to do that anyway, why would they put their blocks rewards at risk for 2 weeks? That doesn't make any sense. Or maybe they just want to dip a toe and see if they can get away with it. And then if nobody chickens out and flips the bit, I don't know. That just seems like so one regret that I have when Jeff and I were talking about the likelihood of success is I brought up that blue button, red button experiment. And that is not an exact replica for the game theory involved here. Because if every person was acting for themselves, then that would be, that tells us one thing, right? And the experiment goes like this. There's 2 buttons, and everybody in the world has to press one of the 2 buttons. If you press the blue button and greater than 50% of the world presses the blue button, then everyone survives. But if people have pressed the blue button, but 50% don't press blue, if greater than 50% don't press blue, then all of the blue people, the blues die, and only the reds survive. And so then the other choice is, do you press red? And what happens with red is, if you press red, you just survive, period, right? And so it's this moral dilemma of, like, everyone can literally just save themselves by pressing red, and nobody has to worry about anything. But if you're like, I don't know, I guess if you're like, oh, well, I want everybody to live, and what if somebody presses blue? I want to save the people who press blue, and so I'll press blue. That's one thing, to be willing to throw your own life away. But what the real question that I think informs these large mining pools decisions is reframing the experiment like this. All of the children in the world have to press a button, or all the parents in the world have to press the button for their child, or for their wife, or for their mother, or, basically someone that you care about and love. And all of the other people that are pressing the button for their children are your mortal enemies. That's what describes the mining situation. So would you press blue, risk your own child's life, and trust that all of your enemies would also press blue to save your life, your family's life, that puts a little bit of a different spin on the situation. Because make no mistake, the mining companies would love nothing more than to orphan the other miners' blocks and they get the rewards instead. That's how they make money. They make money by getting the block rewards. When they get a block reward, they make money, their shareholders make money, the people mining in their pool makes money. And if they if they lose those rewards, then everyone hashing with them is going to get pissed off and go mine somewhere else. All of the shareholders in the company are going to be like, why did you not just press red and save yourself or save me? Why that's the game theory of this decision. And I regret not bringing that up because it's one thing to be willing to throw your own life away, but what parent in their right mind would press blue and put their own child's lives at risk? I think that's a better description of the dilemma that the miners are facing, right? You can press blue and hope that all of your rivals are also pressing blue and like, are also going to save you along with with themselves. But all it takes is for, you know, it's like 5 or 6 mining pools and people start pressing red and it's going to be like, oh shit, I better press red too. And that's the thing too, is like, if you're pressing blue and you see, let's just make it an odd number so it's easy to make it over 50% or not. If it was 7 mining pools and you see 3 press red, you see 1 press red, you're like, oh, okay, that's like 1 bead of sweat pops out of my forehead. You see 1 more press red, right? You've got like 5-2. You see 1 more press red, and you're like, holy shit, only 1 more person has to press red. And then, at the end of the 2-week mandatory signaling period, or actually at the beginning of mandatory signaling, blues start getting killed. you might race to flip your decision from blue to red, right? So that's kind of the theory behind the flip the bit. So I get it. I know. There's only like 1% of the hash power in favor of BIP 110 literally right now, but there's a couple of weeks before they have to decide. Like they can ride or die on the blue button for another couple of weeks, and after that, people start fucking dying. So they can flip from blue to red at any time. Right? You're not locked in until signaling period starts. So it is going to be interesting to see if the start of mandatory signaling is when we get the end of the war, or whether it's 2 weeks later and the miners, like finally capitulate and flip. Let me think about this for a second. So on mandatory signaling, let's say nobody flips. The BIP 110 nodes start throwing their blocks in the garbage, and they start getting probably a smaller chain. And then on the user activated soft fork, only blocks that violate the filter limits are getting rejected. If they all flipped between the mandatory signaling period or like right at the actual activation, they would have already gotten paid on the block rewards on the other chain. But if they all flipped, would it only affect new blocks? I need to sit down with that one. I don't know how exactly that would play out. If anybody's got that worked out, let me know. But yeah, so that's all coming. I think this is how Bitcoin is supposed to work. Not necessarily us hating each other's guts, but maybe that's a feature, not a bug. Uh, I do have some hatred for some of the worst actors, some of the notorious bad actors in the space. Hate is a little bit of a strong word. We'll call it a strong dislike that would require significant efforts and cooperation for me to return to cooperation with them. So optimal game theory says that if you can get away with cheating, you should. But if you cheat or if someone cheats against you, then you should stop cooperating with them. And if they stop cheating and they return to cooperation, then optimal game theory says that you should return to cooperation with them as well. It doesn't have to be right away. You can make them really earn it. And so I think, some of the notoriously bad influencers in this space, let's just start with the worst, would probably be like the Peter Todds and the Jameson Lops, followed by Andy Back, and I don't know who the biggest names are after that. I don't know who the biggest accounts are that are on the anti-BIP 110 side. But then you've got just like regular Bitcoiners, right? Forrest Hodel was supporting knots at first, and now he has flipped and decided to be against it. He's not really supporting it anymore. He's fucking solid. Like I can't hold anything against him, right? Like it's whatever, I see the guy at a Bitcoin conference, I'm gonna try to buy him around. You know what I mean? It's not like, I think there's different levels. There's different levels to it. Sailor's a tough one because I owe him such a debt of gratitude for the things that he's taught me in his many interviews and the What is Money series. And I retired off the guy's stock in 2024. So that's something. But I think he's a little bit too smart to have plausible deniability. I think the rest of us can be like, look, we're just fucking 80 IQ plebs out here doing the best we can. I think it's real easy to forgive and forget each other at that level. But at his level, he's going to have to come up with a bunch more good bangers, right? He can't just rest his laurels on there's no second best and it's going up forever, Laura, and we call them poor. Like, he's going to have to give us a couple more good bangers. He's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to earn his way back into the circle of trust, I guess. So, that being said,